Evaluation of the activities of the National Red Cross Society and other national humanitarian agencies. Introduction. There are 189 National Red Cross and Red Crescent societies around the world, with more currently being formed. This unique network forms the backbone of the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement. Each national society is made up of volunteers and staff who provide a wide variety of services ranging from disaster relief and assistance for the victims of war to first aid training and restoring family links. Nature of national societies. National societies support the public authorities in their own countries as independent auxiliaries to the government in the humanitarian field. Their local knowledge and expertise, access to communities and infrastructure enable the movement to get the right kind of help where it is needed in a fast manner. National society volunteers are often the first on the scene when a disaster strikes and remain active within the affected communities long after everyone has come and gone. This unparalleled network of community-based volunteers and staff also plays a vital role in ensuring that care, prevention and preparedness programs that are carried out on a day-to-day basis, from visiting chronically ill HIV patients in Africa to organizing early warning drills in hurricane-prone areas of the America. This local presence and community-based approach, coupled with the movement's global outreach, resources and know-how, give the Red Cross and Red Crescent a distinct advantage when it comes to dealing with today's complex humanitarian challenges. The promotion of humanitarian values is an intrinsic part of all Red Cross and Red Crescent activities. The national societies conduct campaigns and speak on behalf of vulnerable people in their own countries. They also promote awareness of international humanitarian law and advocate internationally through the Federation and with the International Committee of the Red Cross. National Society Key Facts. Number 1, from 2004 to 2011, 160 million people were supported by 6 lakhs Red Cross and Red Crescent volunteers in disaster response operations. Next, the movement's 189 national societies represent over 13 million active volunteers. About half of them are youth volunteers. Additionally, approximately 50% of the movement's volunteers are women. Next, worldwide national societies employ around 3 lakh people. Next, national society programs and services address both immediate and long-term needs and include: number 1, emergency response; number 2, disaster preparedness; number 3, community-based health and care; number 4, first aid training and activities; number 5, restoring family contact for disaster victims; number 6, youth and volunteer activities; humanitarian organizations. Humanitarian organizations help to ensure that there is swift, efficient humanitarian assistance available when sudden natural disasters strike or wars begin, or in connection with long-term conflicts. Some of the humanitarian agencies are OCHA, Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Next, UNHCR, Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Next, UNICEF, United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. Next, UNRWA, United Nations Relief and Works Agencies for Palestinian refugees in Near East. Next, UNFPA, United Nations Population Fund. Next, UNISDR, United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction. Next, ICRC, the International Committee of the Red Cross. Next, IFRC, International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. Next, IOM, International Organization for Migration. Next, GFDR, Global Forum for Disaster Reduction. Next, CERF, United Nations Central Emergency Response Fund. WFP, World Food Program. Protection of civilians. Humanitarian agencies are moved to carry out humanitarian actions by their most fundamental guiding principles, the principles of humanity. In his classic formulation of this principle, the Swiss humanitarian Jean Pictet captures the essence of humanitarian action as being to protect life and health and to ensure respect for the human beings. The emphasis on the principles on the whole human being is critical. It recognizes that we are more than flesh and blood. When we are cut, we bleed, and when we cannot drink, we thirst. But beyond our material needs, we also feel and care about ourselves and others. This sense of self-worth and the deep value of being together in family and in community of some kind are as important to protect and assist as are our physical needs. We live emotionally, socially and spiritually as well as physically, and so we suffer emotionally, socially and spiritually too. This most basic insight of humanitarian action makes clear that preserving a person's dignity and integrity as a human being is as much a goal in humanitarian work as ensuring their physical safety and providing for their material needs. The principles of humanity recognizes human beings as much more than physical organisms in the need of the means for survival. As such, humanitarian work extends beyond physical assistance to the protection of a human being in their fullness. This means a concern for person's safety, dignity and integrity as a human being. Humanitarian agencies are also working for protection of civilians from war and other disasters. Protection needs arise in a variety of situations in which humanitarian agencies tend to be involved, but particularly perhaps in 5 main situations, such as number 1, armed conflict, either international or non-international armed conflict in which the civilian population suffers a range of deliberate violations and abuses, as well as the terrible but unintended consequences were. Number 2, post-conflict situations in which peace has been agreed but the effective rule of law is not yet complete, so the violations and abuses persist and conditions frequently remain life-threatening and personally degrading. Number 3, natural disasters, in which a natural hazard combines with poverty and social vulnerability to render people materially, personally, and socially and at extreme risk. Number 4, famine, where drought, discrimination, political mismanagement, and or deliberate starvation cause severe food shortage, destitution, and severe economic, social, and personal risk. Number 5, protracted social conflict, civil strife or political oppression that falls short of official armed conflict, but nevertheless involves a crisis in which discrimination, violence, exploitation, and impoverishment are the constant risk. In all 5 of these main contexts of humanitarian action, people are exposed to extreme levels of risk and can be forced to engage in equally perilous and exploitative coping or survival strategies. As a result, agencies operating in any one of these contexts are likely to encounter a broad and sometimes similar range of protection needs arising from various violations and deprivations. These various forms of sufferings and indignity are typically the result of the triple dangers of deliberate personal violence, deprivation, and restricted access. These pose extreme risks that continue to prove calamitous or fatal to many millions of people in war and disaster. Violations and deprivations that cause protection needs. Number 1, deliberate killing, wounding, displacement, destitution, and disappearance. Next, sexual violence and rape. Next, torture and inhuman or degrading treatment. Next, dispossession of assets by theft and destruction. Next, the misappropriation of land and violations of land rights. Next, deliberate discrimination and deprivation in health, education, property rights, access to water, and economic opportunity. Next, violence and exploitation within the affected community. Next, forced recruitment of children in prostitution, sexual exploitation, and trafficking, including the peacekeepers and humanitarian staff, abduction and slavery. Next, forced and accidental mandated and specialized agencies. Several internationally mandated humanitarian and human rights organizations are charged by states to lead on particular aspects of humanitarian protection and specific groups of protected persons. Among humanitarian agencies, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, is internationally mandated to work with states to ensure the protection of refugees. The International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC, has a particular mandate for overseeing the implementation and development of international humanitarian law and actively working with all parties in a conflict to protect persons affected by armed conflict, including civilians, detainees, prisoners of war, and the wounded. The ICRC mandate also covers protection activities in situations of internal strife and in any situation requiring involvement of a specially neutral and independent institution or intermediary. The mandates and roles of other important specialized agencies of the United Nations are also especially relevant in situations of war and disaster. The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR, has an international mandate to promote and protect human rights, to take action to prevent human rights violations, and to work with states to realize all aspects non-mandated agencies. Other impartial humanitarian non-governmental organizations, NGOs, are also entitled to offer humanitarian action in support of persons affected by armed conflict and disaster. They make this offer on the basis of a particular humanitarian expertise in accordance with national legislation in the country concerned and in the line with the general principles that individuals and groups as well as states have a responsibility to promote and respect human rights. Conclusion: humanitarian agencies have relatively limited means with which to protect civilians. In many situations, mandated and non-mandated bodies lack the political authority, the military force, and the legal mandate that would give them the practical power to protect civilians effectively. Recognition of this fact is critical to ensure realistic programming, to avoid excessive expectation, and to preserve agency morale. Humanitarian field workers are not the people primarily responsible for protecting civilians. While they must be as creative, as courageous as possible in every situation, they are part of a much wider system of moral, legal and political responsibility. The tragic truth is that many efforts at humanitarian protection may be found to fail. How agencies understand and deal with this is very important, more so than many other areas of humanitarian assistance. Protective programming often has to operate with a sense of achievement that is as much about trying as succeeding. Often, it will not be humanly possible for humanitarian agencies to protect everyone, but where there is success, it must be valued deeply, even when it involves only one single person.